So far, okay, we're in the home stretch. I'm the final presentation. I'm going to wrap it up, knock it out. I'm on deck. I'm Jill Gibson. I've been in data design, technology analysis, and I'll stop at 25 years. Started when I was 5. So in all seriousness, I have been so blessed to be part of technology. I did start when I was quite young. I did start in my late teens. And yes, I did hear how Al Gore invented the internet. Thank you. No, in all seriousness, I remember the black screen with the green text. I remember DOS. I remember, baud rates. I was excited over 56. I was cruising. I remember bolding something in an email. I remember attachments. I remember the fax. Yes, I'm really dating myself. But like I said, if you look at 25 years, you look at where we're now, it's simpler and more complicated all in the same breath. And the reason I'm saying that is everything now is available on the internet. Everything is now available in searching. People can find data on you whether you like it or not. They can find it on your company or not. So what I really appreciated was with Doug, John, Tom, Maria, and Dave all talking about what you're going to be doing to capture and bring people to you. The question I have is, what are you going to do when they get there? How are you going to manage? How are you going to scale? How are you going to be on top of their needs? Imagine you have this image. You now have 1 million people knocking down your door. Wouldn't that be great? The question is it? Do you have things in place to be able to manage this? Whenever I see this image, and I don't have it as the next slide, I want to put in here. I'm sure we all know about the very famous image, The Scream, by that Norwegian artist. That's what I see my clients do on the other end of the phone when they reach out to me or talk to me at these business events, is you see them looking panicked and going, how can I handle all of this influx and all of this new business coming at me? Because I've done everything right by what these other presenters were talking about. Again, I don't want to scare you. It's just I'm trying to make sure you think about, like you say, if you build it and it's done well and you follow all the right steps, they will come. Are you ready? Is the next question I have for you. So what Softech solution does, and Jen, fantastic from BusyWeb over here, being my Vanna, is passing out some information available. What Softech solution does is we work in the 10 competencies of what chief information officers typically do. There's not enough time in 20 minutes for me to run through all of our services. But so I'm going to be touching on more of the data side, the back office. What are you going to do with that data coming back to you from all of these other venues about their capturing your branding and your market share coming back into your company? So if you look at the first larger page, that does discuss the 10 competencies of what we focus on. Strategic planning and business process. In my mind, out of all of the competencies that we work on, these are the ones that will truly make or break a company. I cannot tell you how many times I have been called and discussed to or consulted to come in to fix problems within a company because the software that they've picked is just not working. It's broken. We aren't getting what we want out of it. And the more I ask and the more I talk to these companies and the owners and the people that are championing these applications, when I say, well, okay, let me see your procedure manual. Let me see how you're defining your process in the company to consistently do something day in and day out so everybody's on the same page. It's not good when you see a deer in headlights look, because a lot of times companies do not have business process or strategic planning in place as the foundation. How many of you, as far as business owners, have sat down and actually created a mission statement, created a strategic planning structure, started writing down your business process? Just show of hands. Who's been writing some of this down? This is more hands in this group than I have had in the last year, so this is a good trend. Because we do a lot of strategic planning and business process design with customers. In fact, it's almost up to 35%. We might be called in to do application integration or contact management system design, but the more I keep asking these questions, the more they go, oh, you do that? And once we put those into place, everything else works and does better because they're all approaching the tools the same, the data input the same, the reporting the same, because your process is in place. It sounds simple, but you'd be surprised how many people do not understand the power of all of this. How will you handle your customers or your clients? Have you asked yourself that question? The audience that you have been working so hard to come and say, here, look at me, look at my company. how are you going to handle their needs? Is it going to be a standardized approach? Is everybody going to have the feeling of trust that you're all being the best possible with them as far as what you can deliver? And also, the big one down at the very bottom is the scalability. Do you have plans in place that as you grow and you get more market share, do you have contingencies in place to be able to scale to manage more and more customers so that your quality of customer service doesn't go down? I don't know if you ever had those big pushes or swells in a company, all of a sudden you're just drowning in leads, and then all of a sudden you realize your existing customers are getting kind of crabby. Look at your scalability of your processes. So I wrote this presentation when I ended up getting some little pocket lights in the back of the room. So you're going to see illuminating, shedding light, casting focus. We really do want to roll into the idea of what are we shedding light on? Meaning, when you're looking at the information of the people coming to you, are they prospects? Are they hot leads? Are they reoccurring customers? One that I find really interesting is, do you track your referral partner leads? Do you have your top 5 referral partners or your referral sphere? And what do you do to make sure that they continue to help and push what you do to their customers? Are you giving it a win-win situation back to them? Can you name them off in your head, the top 5 of people that support what you do? A lot of people don't track this, and they don't realize referral environments are huge because it's like, 2 people tell 2 more people, and they all tell 5 people who tell 5 people. Start doing the exponential math. You'll be blown away at how much your message can get out just by your credibility and your trust with others that are talking about you. And it's not social media, and it's not SEO, and it's not your website. And that's not that's bad, but when you look at overall branding and image, you have to look at not only how you look physically when you're out in public, also your printed materials, you're also looking at your website, your SEO. It's a total package. You have to look at all aspects of these things. I'll give you a really interesting story when I'm talking about shedding light on image. It might not be the right time, but it popped into my head. I have been in this environment for quite a while, and I had a meeting with a very, very wealthy individual who owns 14 companies here in Minnesota. He's in the top 1% elite, very, very wealthy man. Older, I would say he was close to 70 when we met. So I was introduced to him, nothing professional. He wanted a proposal for one of his companies. I designed it along with my consultants that would have been more features than a canned product that he was going to buy off the shelf. It would have met more needs than he would have ever thought of because I kept asking more discovery questions. And it was going to be ultimately cheaper than what he was going to buy and implement that really wasn't going to be as feature rich. So I created proposals, like I said, presentation, materials, everything. The reason I'm smiling is I'm sitting there, we were ready to sign the dotted line for the contract for the first phase 1 of this project. And he leans back in his chair and he starts to kind of snicker a little bit. I thought, well, that's odd. And I was physically wearing this outfit at the time. I didn't think anything of it. And he looked at me and I said, was there something I've missed in this presentation of this proposal? I said, I've met the numbers, the technical approach is going to be sound, it's going to give you more than you need, integrating with our applications in your company. And he just shook his head and he looked at me and he goes, you're just too pretty to be this smart. I actually lost the deal because that told me that he was misaligning what was important. And I looked at him, I said, well, and I'm not going to use this name, I said, well, you don't understand. You're very lucky because you get the total package here. And he stopped and he smiled at me and he goes, touche. I still didn't get the deal. But it's interesting how people will see you. I like to wear bright clothes. I like to be noticed. Because a lot of times when people see me or they have yet to meet me physically and they see what I do on my website, they hear what we do, we publish, etc., they think I'm quite a data geek. They expect me to wear the little pocket protector and the white shirt with the black pants, with the glasses. I've had LASIK. I purposely want to get away from that image because I think data is extremely powerful. Content may be king, but to me, data is power. And that's a huge piece in my mind. Data is power. based on your content. Results and trending, spotlight. I'm not going to read this. It's on the 10 competency sheet if you look farther down. What we do here, it's a lot of results and trending. So this data is coming in from your website. You know, the Contact Us page. It can actually feed into a contact management system. Environments that we design, not only will it come into the system, we could get really crazy fun with some of this. Let's say your John Doe fills out a Contact Us. You've snagged him. He loves what he sees out there. Yes, you can deliver what he's looking for. He's giving you the name and the email. Now that's where my fun starts. So it comes into your contact management system. It will put an activity calendar reminder on your calendar to follow up within 24 hours. You may also have an email going to one of your consultants to make sure that there's an immediate phone call that happens to follow up. All this is automated. And the other beautiful thing is, with your results and trending, you can also see how long does that lead take from prospect to customer to then ultimately billing. Because again, we also love to do a lot of application integration. I do a lot of integration with Outlook into your contact management system. I also do accounting into your contact management system, because it wouldn't it be great to pull up an account before you make that phone call? And if this customer owes you $1,000, are you going to really give them that 20% off special that you're about ready to call them on? Versus maybe this should be a collections call. But imagine all your data at your fingertips in front of you so that you present the strongest image possible and the most high customer-oriented service image possible going forward. Because like I said, imagine all your data in front of you and also seeing the trending and the behaviors from your customers. We also do a lot of business intelligent reporting. With Power Pivot tables and dashboards. We also have a lot of fun with that. Certain types of data will start to shine when grouping. This is where you're going to start, again, that trending and marketing behavior. Marketing and branding. Before we move on to this, there's a quick story I did want to tell you about regarding results and trending. This is extremely pertinent because it just happened 6 months ago. One of my consultants that's out at Augsburg, he's out on a part-time contract and has been doing what is called data analysis reporting. And he writes in Microsoft SQL, he runs very strong queries looking at data and trending. And so Augsburg will say, well, Keith, that's my consultant, I want XYZ reports. And so he's like, okay, fine. So he gets the requirements, he understands, he writes the reports, he gives them the data results back, and they're happy. And they love it. They love all that he's been doing out there for about 1.5 years. About 6 months ago, he started seeing things that didn't make sense. They weren't things that the client asked for, but he was starting to see some data anomalies, some trending that he, because he's been working with the data, went, there's something else going on here. Now, the client didn't ask the questions, but Keith decided to write a couple more reports hedging his bets, trying to see why do I see these anomalies in the data. Sure enough, because of certain types of trending, if what was going to show that if Augsburg had not changed their marketing and student retention plans and policies, new course offerings, they would be down 65% in enrollment in 2016. They would be 65% less in enrollment if they didn't do anything. And they never asked for this report. They never asked about attrition. They never asked about kind of the negative aspect of attending a college. They always wanted to know what's going on with their current students, what's happening now. But they weren't looking forward to say, well, do we have to change anything? So Keith, now we did talk about this because he didn't let me know until after he did it, wrote the reports, presented it to the president of the college, because I could have gotten a phone call that could have gone either way. Because it was like, well, why would you do this on your own time? Well, Keith is extremely good at what he does. It went well. The president was just beyond thankful, extended the contract. They have changed things. They've done amazing. And because of the trending reports since then, this has been averted. They're back on path and they've been able to address what it is that they need to do. Reports and trending is extremely powerful if you start looking at your data. And don't just ask 1 or 2 dimensional level questions, start looking at it in 3 or 6 dimensional ways and really making it the magic 8 ball. We all ask Google certain questions. Well, why don't you ask your data certain questions? Because I can't tell you how much you will learn if you start looking at trending and results. So on that, with your trending and results, it also gives you behaviors and what is going on with your customers based on the data you've accumulated. So you can see the shining of certain audiences coming through as you keep looking and understanding your data. So you can see in red, because I'm really subtle here, where did the lead come from? That's huge. Like for instance, I have a drawing back in the back of the room for 2 copies of ACT software. It's a strong, very strong CRM product. Every business card that I'll be putting in that bowl, I have a field in my database called lead list name. And the lead list name will be projecting your image, and it will be June 2014. You'll all be tagged with that, because I want to know how many of you potentially would turn into a customer, and that will ultimately effectively show me my ROI for being up here today. You don't do anything for free. I'm not horribly money grubbing. I'm not all about the Benjamin, but like we've all been saying, you don't want to just put something out there and then just hope something happens and just money rains from the sky. You have to know that everything is strategic with your business, and you have to understand what you're going to do next, or maybe 6 moves down based on your data. What are you doing to be down 6 steps from now? And how is that going to impact you and bring more ROI and impact for your time? All right, casting focus on what works best. Again, if you look at integration of systems, single point entry, if you look at data trending, if you look at your processes, if you look at your strategic planning, you also have to look at targeted marketing will also kind of bubble out of this as far as where you might find the most impact. Like for instance, Maria was talking about LinkedIn, B2Bs. With what I do, yes, I am a data geek. I will own it in a red dress. But truly, LinkedIn is much more of the venue for me than I'd still do a lot of postings on Facebook. But it is a different audience, extremely different audience. I am truly much more of a B2B environment. Your website. My website is constantly being updated. In fact, I wrote some very cool integration pieces that now integrate more data with hidden field values being transferred, so I get even more information on client behaviors and where they popped into my site, how long they've been there, and then the call to action. And I will get more information that comes back to me. Customer referrals. We're going to go over this in a second. There's another piece that's been handed out for you. Public relations, again, public speaking, networking, referral partners. Make sure to track that. There is something to always track when you're out in the public. Public speaking, I do a lot of it. Email marketing is another one. Again, you're going to get a lot of targeted focus. When I was saying categories of your customers. So if you have a customer, and let's say it's a promotion site, and you sell cups and saucers and widgets, etc., and you have a huge base that buys a certain type of cup, coffee cup from you for printing purposes. Upselling based on your data, wouldn't they be a great option for the latest sweat-resistant coaster that would match it? They didn't ask for it, but now you can take that data and push out another piece of very specific marketing because you think, well, if they've got that cup, they probably would need that coaster. You got to think about some of this. Your data can tell you all kinds of things. Social media, again, Maria, Dave, you did a great job. I am so not going to talk about that anymore today. Very powerful, and there are things that you can do as far as call to actions on those social medias, pointing you back to certain web pages or a call to action that you can now capture when it comes back into your database. So again, you're going to know where it came from. Okay, student offer. All right, first of all, okay, I'm going to make an impression here, projecting my image. Not only do I love data and helping businesses capture and make more money because of better efficiencies and processes, I also like to competitively ballroom dance. And now they're my client. So what I wanted to show you this is a marketing piece right here in your hand. Tell me, after you've heard everybody else before me, what are some of their strengths? What is it doing? What could it be that's going to make you do? Where are the benefits? Anybody? Just throw something out for me.
Right.
It's bright. That red. Red's good.
$25, I know it's the cost, so
It's very clear. The one thing that when I was talking to the client about, there's something in here that's missing. You don't need a partner. This is not for couples. Individuals can show up. I've been dancing for a year and a half because, well, now my ex-husband, but at the time, my husband, when I brought this living social piece, I responded to an online provider promo. I went to him and said, I think this would be fun for us to do. I want to do this. Will you do it with me? He said, nope. And I said, Tom, how do you feel about that? So I'm like, you know what? I really want to do this. I did ballroom dancing in college as an elective, and I thought, I'm going to do this. And so I showed up, and the owner of the studio, who now is my dance partner, said, you don't need a partner. And it's true. This whole place is structured that if you show up, there's group classes, there's practice parties, there's all kinds of ways to engage. So I will take this back to him, because I didn't really give you all a chance to pick on this, but wouldn't it now be more, or I should say less fearful for you to maybe want to respond to this if you know you don't have to be there with a partner? Yeah. It takes the fear away. The risk goes down. You're like, well, I can show up for 2 lessons for $25 and I don't need a partner. I'm good with that. But it should be on this. Yes, sir.
I just have a couple things. When I first looked at it, I'm big in design and stuff. When I first looked at it, and I seen private lessons, I thought it was private lessons by you actually teaching a course rather than dancing. So I didn't even see dancing in the first place.
Nice.
And the next thing I would say is if you look at the Fred Astaire dance studio, you see it's very pixelated and not very clear.
Right.
So, and then the student guest offer, that's just almost way too big. Everything's too centered, too text heavy. I would definitely, even if there was incorporated some sort of image or graphic put into there, it would definitely help out.
You are fantastic, because I put this together very quickly based on his information, but there was the Fred Astaire dance logo in the lower left corner, and I showed it to him. He said, you have to take this out because of copyright infringement, because I am not an employee of the studio. Good point. But if they gave this to me, but because it's got my name on it, I can't have the logo on it. Really? It's very interesting. Very good point, though. But wouldn't it be nice to have some little ballroom dancers or somebody? It doesn't have to be Fred Astaire's logo. So I don't mean to keep picking on this, but again, all really good input. But just look at the discussion we've started today about it. And yes, it was an example because it's my client, but we just started talking about Ballroom Dance Studio today. And there's 40 of you hearing the message. Something to think about. So I know I've talked quickly about the back office. The data comes in from the various outside inputs. Core. Your website might be core out in the world that the customers see, but internally, in my mind, your contact management system is truly the hub of a spoke hub model. Your email messages are writing as you're talking to customers and prospects. You're getting all this logged on their history, so you can go back and look at John Doe's record and know that you've sent him 14 emails and you've had 3 phone calls and you've had 2 meetings and you've sent this piece of material out to him. Why hasn't he become a customer yet? Something to think about. Public relations, just like I was saying, tracking if you're speaking publicly or if you're doing networking or your referral partners. Think about that. Client management, when Doug, John, and Tom were talking about payroll and e-commerce, you got to make sure your client management is solid, just like I said earlier. When you have spikes of new customers, you got to make sure your existing customers are happy, because they're the ones that are be your sales force to keep referring you to others that they know. Project management, again, depending on your industry, you have to make sure to stay on top of the projects or things you're doing with your customers. It can't be on a piece of paper that only you have in a notebook on your desk if you have more than 1 employee. I didn't look at you, Frank. Direct mail, again, call to actions. You got to have ways to track this. Like for instance, there is a tracking piece that's got my name on this. So if any of you take this to the studio, they're going to know that I talked at this event and you've responded by taking taking part in this. Mobile marketing, again, that was already discussed earlier. Regarding, e-commerce, but also Dave talked about what does your website look like mobilely. Website is also, we've already talked about this. I love how we're all talking about the same things. And email marketing. This one I like a lot because the database, I can pick groups of people and have very specific messaging and see the open rate and the click rates, and I will know how responsive they are to my messaging. If it's a little low, that means the next time I send something out for that group, I've got to tweak it. It does give you direct results back when you do email marketing. Any questions? I know it's like drinking from a fire hose when I'm up here. Does any of you have any questions right now for me? I've stunned you with my brilliance. It's just a lot of times people don't think about when you collect your data, what do you do with it? We all are good little soldiers and we all have it, and usually we run our companies using Outlook or an Excel spreadsheet, but wouldn't it be great to see everything kind of in a very nice at-a-glance model, all data at your fingertips? You're not searching and looking through folders that are standing on your desk. You're not looking for that piece of Post-it note you stuck somewhere that somehow fell and now you don't know where it's at. Anytime I violate my own processes in my company, I will just share this. Usually things don't get done. If it doesn't go through my normal standardized process, which is high customer service, if I go, oh, I'm just going to scribble this over here real quick, that scribble is costing me money because it jumps out of my process and then I forget about it, or it's on the back of a piece of paper that gets thrown away and I've just thrown away money. I see a lot of head nods, so I must be saying something right. We do have a drawing. Like I said, please put your business card in and we can then draw at the end of the event today. And it's been a pleasure being up here. I hope I haven't bored you too much.